Hello, everyone. This Ukrainian peace conference in Switzerland has already been a significant success. To have close to 100 countries here, almost 60 of them represented at the leader level, it shows, particularly given the engagement from across all continents, including strong representation from emerging economies, just how important it is that we continue to stand up for international law and the fundamental principles of the UN Charter. I just came out from chairing a session specifically on the return of Ukrainian children who have been taken by Russia. We're talking about close to 20,000 children who've been ripped from their families, taken from their language, their culture, their identity, and every single day they remain away from their families is a lost day in their lives. The international community is committed to, first of all, making sure that the world knows about these stolen Ukrainian children, but also that we work in significant ways to return them, to make sure that Putin and Russians are held accountable for these crimes against humanity, and indeed that international law is enforced. C'est un moment important pour le monde de se rassembler ici en Suisse pour cette conférence sur la paix en Ukraine, que 100 différents pays soient représentés, presque 60 au niveau des chefs de gouvernement ou chefs d'État, démontre à quel point c'est un enjeu sur lequel la communauté mondiale est en train de se pencher. En particulier, je viens d'être président d'une session sur le retour des enfants ukrainiens qui ont été enlevés par la Russie. On parle de presque 20 000 enfants qui ont été enlevés de leur famille, mais aussi de leur culture, de leur langue, de leur communauté. Et à chaque jour qu'ils demeurent prisonniers de la Russie, c'est une journée perdue dans leur vie, dans leur évolution. Nous sommes engagés en tant que communauté internationale de répondre et d'exiger des comptes et surtout le retour de ces enfants de la part de la Russie.
How many points is a success when the joint communique includes no concrete action or deliverables from any of the countries moving forward?
I think the first piece of the success of this is really seeing 100 different countries come together from all corners of the world, including almost 60 people at leader level, to lean in on the defense of international law and the importance of the UN Charter, territorial integrity, sovereignty, these foundational principles that matter deeply. And then on the three issues that are being highlighted here, these are issues that the world can agree on, that Russia needs to be held to account for. Nuclear security, because that involves us all. The dangers of an accident, of an escalation, would be significant, not just for Ukraine, but for the entire continent. And that's why we're talking about that. Food security. We've seen over the past years rising food prices and shortages around the world that are a direct consequence of this war in Ukraine. By Russia, and that's a topic that can bring together the world. And finally, as I said, on the close to 20,000 children taken by Russia from their families, their language, their homes, their communities, their culture, is something that people around the world can agree on must end, and those children must be returned. That is a significant response.
Constitue, d'après vous, une paix juste pour l'Ukraine et à quelles conditions? Est-ce que, par exemple, l'intégrité territoriale en fait partie?
Bien sûr que l'intégrité territoriale est essentielle pour l'Ukraine et pour nous tous. C'est un des principes de la Charte des Nations Unies que nous devons défendre comme élément essentiel du droit international. Mais c'est pas à la communauté internationale et c'est pas au Canada de décider qu'est-ce qui serait une paix juste, c'est à l'Ukraine de le faire. Et nous sommes là pour appuyer l'Ukraine dans leurs décisions parce que c'est eux qui sont les victimes de l'agression russe. Cette guerre existe parce que Poutine a décidé d'envahir un pays voisin et de causer des morts et des dommages extrêmes que nous devons tous se souvenir à chaque fois que c'est à l'Ukraine de décider ce serait quoi une paix juste.
Canada promised an air defense system a year and a half ago. It still hasn't arrived. Today, the Foreign Ministry of Ukraine just said that's their top priority.
Yes.
What's the holdup?
The air defense system, the NSICOP system that Canada has promised to Ukraine and is going to deliver to Ukraine is currently being built by the United States. We are working with the U.S. to accelerate production and get it off the assembly line and get it to Ukraine as quickly as possible. We know the Americans want to do that as well, but it is something that is not entirely in Canada's control. Okay. Le système NASAMS qu'on a promis à l'Ukraine est en train d'être produite aux États-Unis actuellement. Nous travaillons avec les Américains pour accélérer les processus de manufacture et de livraison, mais évidemment, ce n'est pas quelque chose que le Canada contrôle uniquement.
What are the to engage Russia to the table in long-term perspective, given the fact that Moscow is imposing new demands?
Well, one of the things that we talked about in the session that I just chaired is the importance of getting Russia to engage on the fact that they have abducted and kidnapped close to 20,000 Ukrainian children. Regardless of what a given person or a given country around the world might think of the causes of the war or the responsibilities that Russia wields, everyone can agree that taking kids away from their families, trying to erase their language, their culture, that's an element of genocide. That's pure colonialism. These are things that Russia needs to be accountable for and needs to engage with the international community, whether it's the UN, UNICEF, whether it's the Red Cross, working with religious organizations. There needs to be accountability for this and so many other things.
Military trainers, what are the right conditions? What are the right conditions for Canada to resend military trainers to Ukraine as France is preparing to do so? They clearly seem ready.
En français d'abord, nous nous attendons à ce que sur le sujet des enfants, la Russie s'engage à retourner ces 20 000 enfants qu'ils ont pris. Et même le calcul a été fait, si ils retournent juste un enfant par jour, ça va nous prendre 55 ans avant de retourner tous ces enfants. Et évidemment, on ne parlerait plus d'enfants dans ce moment-là. Donc, il y a une urgence que la Russie reconnaisse qu'ils ont une responsabilité immédiate et urgente de travailler avec la communauté internationale pour renvoyer ces enfants en Ukraine dans leur langue, dans leur culture. On the issue, sorry, there was a question. On the issue of training, since 2015, Canada has trained up over 35,000 members of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, and that continues. We know how important it is through working in various places. It is to continue to enable Ukraine to stand against the tremendous numbers and resources that Russia is throwing at them in this invasion. The fact that Ukraine was able to hold through those first weeks and now for more than 2 years is a testament first and foremost to the strength and courage of Ukrainians who are fighting for their homeland, their culture, their very identity. But it's also a recognition of countries like Canada who, since the invasion of Crimea, have been working to train up the Ukrainian forces so that they could stand against Russian numbers.
Are you saying Russia's committing genocide in Ukraine?
That is certainly one of the things that has been talked about. When Putin gave a speech just before this latest invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago, he talked about the fact that Ukraine wasn't a real country and wasn't a real language and was really just a part of Russia. That erasure of identity, that minimizing of a culture and negating of a national identity is one of the ingredients of genocide. As you all know, that is a word that we that is a word that we turn to the international community and specifically international institutions of law to weigh in on. The issue of genocide is one to see determinations by international law and proper institutions. But certainly there are elements here that should concern all of us around what Russia has said and what Russia is doing.
On the NSICOP report, sir, yesterday you said in the NSICOP report that you have concerns with what the committee had done. Can you outline what those concerns are?
Well, I think one of the things that we have seen over the past number of years is a number of reports, a number of I am terribly sorry.
Take a minute.
I will take a moment.
Step away.
Yeah.
You need to.
At least Doug Ford swallowed.
Sir, come over here. Just like, get out of there.
No, I don't need more water. Over the past number of years, Canada has brought in a significant number of measures and institutions and programs to counter foreign interference, from the creation of the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians to a strengthened National Security Oversight Agency to elections monitoring by top public servants and specific focus on democracy and elections by our intelligence communities. We've also had now two different public inquiries into it, one from the Special Rapporteur, one an ongoing foreign interference inquiry. All of those elements together are contributing to a fuller picture that Canadians have, and all of us have, on the reality of foreign interference by many different countries into our democracy, as are happening around the world. Many of those conclusions and reports are varied in the conclusions they draw, in the level of assumptions and conclusions they make around what they say. The government has already highlighted there are a number of the conclusions of the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians report that we don't entirely align with. And that actually is demonstrated by the fact that two party leaders, both Elizabeth May and Jagmeet Singh, who read that report in its entirety, come to differing conclusions on the interpretation of what it means. That demonstrates that there is a certain amount of responsibility that party leaders have to engage with this, which highlights that the decision by the Conservative leader and the leader of the official opposition to not get a security clearance, to not choose to even read the unredacted report before engaging in political attacks and oversimplifications is not responsible leadership. So we're going to continue to engage in a responsible way on this very, very important issue, and we thank and support the work done by NSICOP, even though some of the conclusions, as was highlighted by Minister LeBlanc, are not conclusions that we draw based on the actual evidence and intelligence that was received.
But can you clarifier une chose en français, s'il vous plaît? Vous avez parlé d'un génocide tout à l'heure. Pouvez-vous nous juste préciser les ingrédients, vous croyez, qui s'apparentent à un génocide?
Ce que j'ai dit, c'est que dans un génocide, il y a plusieurs éléments qui peuvent ou qui doivent être présents pour que ça soit conclu en tant que génocide. Et un des éléments, c'est le désir d'effacer ou de nier, merci. Un des éléments, c'est le désir de nier ou d'effacer l'identité ou la culture d'un peuple en entier. Et quand Vladimir Poutine préparait son invasion récente, il y a 2 ans, de l'Ukraine, il parlait justement de la négation de la culture et de l'identité ukrainienne comme une des justifications pourquoi il devait peut-être prendre action. C'est un ingrédient qui nous préoccupe énormément et quand on voit que la Russie a enlevé pour rééduquer et effacer la culture de 20 000 enfants, on voit vraiment que voilà un des ingrédients qui devrait préoccuper toute la communauté internationale. Et d'ailleurs, ça préoccupe la communauté internationale à cause, bien, on le voit avec le nombre de pays qui sont présents ici aujourd'hui. On n'est pas en train de tirer les conclusions, mais on souligne à quel point c'est un élément préoccupant.
Can you be clear on this point?
Right, yes.
Is Canada open now to putting military trainers in Ukraine? Can you be clear on this point?
We have always been there to support Ukraine with what it needs. We are delivering light armored vehicles as we speak that Ukraine is in need of, and we continue to do training in many different locations. This is something that we will continue to be there for Ukraine on.
Last question.
Calling these peace talks seems
Any last question?
Calling these peace summits seems overly optimistic.
Thank you very much, everyone. Oh, sorry. We are continuing to follow the international institutions that we have. We continue to work and watch the work done with the ICC and the ICJ. Canada supports international law, and we always will. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.